So what are we going to hear today? It's what is defined as a fairy tale opera. So let's talk about opera before we go deeper into what's happening tonight. Opera actually translates as the works. What do I mean with that? It means like it's a work of art that includes many other arts in it. At the same time, we have music, we have staging, we have like scenic art, we have singing, we have acting, and in other operas, mostly the French operas, we also have dancing. So that's how big an opera can get. You can have many things happening, including ballet. So that's what is called opera. Opera means like the works, like a huge work of art. And in my case, I think it's like the ultimate piece of art. But if you have another idea, it's okay. I won't argue. What is it, a fairy tale opera? That means it's an opera based on a story, like a fantastical story. That will be different as the other types of opera, which are, for example, opera buffa. That means funny opera, an opera that you see and you will be laughing. And opera seria, which means serious opera. That's the typical opera we see in TV where everybody is like singing and crying and somebody dies at the end. But don't worry, this one is kids friendly, family friendly, so not too much bloody matters here today. It's a very fun opera tonight. How this opera came to be is it's written by Engelbert Humperdinck. I want to point out that since I came to Malaysia, I've been hearing stories about Engelbert Humperdinck. Apparently there is another guy with the same name who makes like pop songs or something like that. This is another Engelbert Humperdinck, probably the original one. This is a composer, German composer from the 1900s. So don't panic, it's not the pop guy, okay? It's the other guy. That comes from actually a very, very important school of romantic composers. So Engelbert Humperdinck's sister, she wrote the libretto. What's the libretto? Libretto literally means little book. Libro, book, libretto, little book. So she wrote the libretto or the lyrics for the opera. And she came to Engelbert Humperdinck and told him, like, you know what? I have these stories based on the Grimm's tales, Hansel and Gretel. Why don't you put some music to this? The first idea was to make like a little collection of songs for a Christmas play. And then after that, they were like, you know what? These songs are kind of cool. Why we don't compose a prelude? They did a prelude. You know what? Why we don't put all these songs together and make an opera? And then they made an opera, 2-hour opera. That's pretty good. So as I just mentioned, this story is based on the Grimm's brothers' tale. I also want to mention that in case you have read the original Grimm's tales, they're actually super creepy. I don't think those are like for kids. So what you are going to see today is an adaptation because of course they wanted to have a family-friendly show. It was premiered close to Christmas. And for a long time it was a Christmas custom, kind of like the Nutcracker or like Messiah handled in other countries and stuff like that. So because of that, they made it more kids-friendly, because actually in the original story of Hansel and Gretel, the mom is like super evil. Actually, I think most of the characters are super evil, even the ones that make the kids get lost in the forest. Here we have, of course, a couple of evil characters, but everybody is kind of happy and trying to help the kids, and at the end, everybody is okay. So the opera was composed in Frankfurt, Germany, between 1891 and 1892. It was first performed in Weimar on the 23rd of December, 1893. That's what I mentioned. Started as a Christmas project and then became one of the most performed operas. I want to point out that the first conductor of this opera in 1893 was Richard Strauss. In case you don't know who is Richard Strauss, he's really famous because of his big orchestrations, his huge pieces. One of his most famous pieces is, for example, Don Juan. I'm not saying that because my name is Juan, but the piece is also called Don Juan. That's one of the most famous symphonic poems. And also, I want to put him together with Richard Strauss, Engelbert Humperdinck, and Wagner. Why am I doing this? It's not like one is better than the other. It's mostly because they kind of come from the same idea of this German idea of grandiose works, like huge works. Right now here we have a very small orchestra because we are using a reduction, but that doesn't mean we are cutting the work, no. We are reducing the size of the orchestra because honestly the orchestra for this work will cover the whole stage. It's a huge orchestra. But don't worry, we are not cutting any part of the work. We are just reducing the music, but you will hear and see the full show. So nothing has been cut from the show itself. So let's talk about the characters a bit. Who are you going to see? Who are you going to see on stage later? We have Peter, who is the dad of Hansel and Gretel. He is a broom maker. The family is pretty poor, so he goes every day to the market to try to sell the brooms. I guess business are not doing well, so they are usually very broke and they don't have that much food. Gertrude is the mom. She stays at home, takes care of the kids. Again, in this case, the mom is not that evil, but she's a bit annoying, probably because they are so poor. And they just have one jar of milk. You will see later what happened to the milk. Sad story. Then we have Hansel. Hansel is the son, Gretel is the daughter. I want to point out something here. In this case, in this opera, both characters are played by a woman. So Hansel, the son, will be played by a woman. And this is not a mistake, this is not an adaptation. It's a very common use in opera to have male characters actually sung by a woman, mezzo-soprano or soprano. So it's very common, and it's actually written by Humperdinck like this way, so it's not a change we are doing. The other character is the gingerbread witch. That's what happened when you get lost in the forest, and then the gingerbread witch steal the kids and then cook them, and then I don't want to scare you, but yeah, that's what she does. And she lives in this delicious gingerbread house that is actually the one that Hansel and Gretel are going to be like, this house looks like delicious, and then they actually eat a little bit of the house, and that's where trouble starts. Also, for this adaptation of the opera, Engelbert Humperdinck and his sister, they agreed that to make it family friendly and because of the adaptations, they needed extra characters, so they added 2 characters that are not in the original book. The first one is Sandman, which is the character that puts the kids to sleep when they are lost in the forest, because the kids are like nervous, scared. This is the forest, in case you didn't notice. It's a bit made of chocolate, but it's a forest. So the kids are lost in the forest, and then the Sandman kind of comes down and calms them down, like, you know what, relax, and like throw the sleepy powder on their eyes, and then they go to sleep. The other character that counteracts the Sandman is called the Dew Fairy. That's another character added by Humperdinck and his sister. And actually it's the opposite. She is the one that comes and wakes them up in the morning. So they are all fresh, and then she comes like, okay, wake up kids, blah, 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 you are lost. Right after that is when they see the ginger house, and then trouble starts. I want to talk a little bit about the story. This opera is composed in 3 acts. That means 3 sections. We are not going to have a space between Act 1 and 2. It will be played through, and actually it's written that way, so you won't even notice it. We will have a 20-minute break between Act 2 and 3. That will be the intermission. What's happening in the first act? The first act is in the house. Hansel and Gretel are playing around, not doing their chores, and then the mom arrives, and the mom gets really upset, like, oh, why you kids not doing what I told you, blah, blah, blah. In that little fight, they break the only jar of milk they have, and the mom gets so upset because she has a reason. Some people say she's evil, but I mean, like, they are really full. That was the only food they have. So the mom is like, go to the forest, and then they go to the forest, this forest. Then the dad comes from the market, and then the dad says, like, why are you so sad? And she's like, and then the dad said, like, don't worry, my business were really good today. I have money, I have eggs, I have bread, I have this. And then they start celebrating and happy. The dad tells the story about how many brooms he sold. And then when they are about to celebrate, the dad says, like, wait, where are the children? And then the mom tells him the story. Oh no, we fought, blah, 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 blah. And then I kicked them out. Right after that, the dad asks ask her, like, where did you send them? No, I sent them to the enchanted forest. And then the dad is like, oh no, trouble. Because the dad knows that's where the witch lives. And apparently there is a legend. So what happens at the end of the first act? They run to go to the forest and rescue the kids. The second act is the kids are lost in the forest. They don't know what to do. They get scared. There are different sounds until the Sandman comes and puts them to sleep. Right after the night is over, the Jew fairy comes and wakes them up. The third act, they wake up in the forest. They are still lost, and they find the gingerbread house. Of course, one of them is like, that looks weird, be careful, don't eat that house. But the other one is like, that house smells so delicious, I want to eat it. And they go for it, and of course, the second they go for the house, the witch appears, and she asks like, who is nibbling in my housey? And that's a really fun scene. After that, they find out that actually the intentions of the witch are not that nice, and she actually steals kids, cook them, and make them in gingerbread cookies, which is not nice. And then after that, I don't want to tell you what happened, because what I do in my talks is like when you go to a movie, and then you see the trailer of the whole movie and you know the end. I'm sure you know what happens at the end because this is family friendly and it's going to have a nice ending. But I want to see you, I want you to explore the story, and I don't want you to know like, oh yes, I know how it ends exactly now. But I just want to leave you with the witch, and that's what's happening, and that's kind of the tension that it will be resolved hopefully later. So before I finish, I want to tell you that please feel free to interact with us. Of course, no talking, no flash photography, but if you see something funny, you are okay to laugh, because we actually like when we hear that feedback. If you see something that surprises you, you can react. You don't have to be sitting down and all quiet, like, oh, I can't move. No. You can react to what's happening on stage. Even if there is a couple of sections that you feel like clapping, sometimes the music gives you that space. So feel free to interact. You are part of the show, so enjoy the show. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. Because after this, I will be standing there conducting the show. If you don't have any more questions, I think I will leave you now. So sit down, relax, connect with the show, and I hope you enjoy your afternoon. Thank you very much for being here, and see you later.